The December 12th, 2023 meeting of the Richmond Sanitary District Board of Commissioners is called to order. The first item of business is approval of board minutes from November 28th of 2023.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
motion for approval of board minutes from November 28th, 2023 as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the board minutes from November 28th, 2023 as presented. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is approval of invoices from check dates November 24th and December 1st and 8th of 2023.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Steens.
I'll make a motion to approve invoices for check date run November 24th, December 1st and 8th of 2023, totaling $657,159.11. We had a few significant invoices. First, from Andrews Engineering for $17,642.13. Commonwealth Engineers, $10,153.10. Cooley Contracting LLC, $10,518.72. Hoosier Shields LLC, $13,869. CNC Manufacturing LLC, $375,376.93. And Richmond Power and Light, $46,929.48.
Aye, second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve invoices from check dates November 24th and December 1st and 8th of 2023 totaling $657,159.11. Are there any questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to the director's report.
Yes, Madam President, Board. Before you is the month of October's report. A couple things to note in there. In Section 5, under Waste Collection Landfill, you'll see that it shows 32.71 tons of of cardboard, That was flagged then. It's significantly higher than normal. They did go back, and it was a coding error in the software. It was a much more normal number, and you'll see that reflected in the November and the year-end report. So that was changed. It's much closer to around 3 tons and not 32. The next thing is under Section 6, the solid waste summary. Just make a note of the 75 tons that are listed under special pickup. 2.66 tons of that was actually leaf collection. So I just wanted to call that out. And that's really all I have. I do have one other thing. It's spelled out on the thing there, but there were twice a year we have 3 weeks of collection of cardboard. Most of the time it's just 2 because it's every other week, but the way it falls, twice a year is 3 picks up. So no, I added a third week. It's pretty self-explanatory on the sheet, but there was a third week of collection of cardboard for October. But again, it's just still following the same pattern. We put containers out, we're still showing around 50% of people have it out or each week or is completely full. I guess it's full about half of the time. I guess we'll go that route. But as we keep putting more containers out, that's holding true. So our tonnage collected it's pretty linear then as we keep putting it out. So it's good to see that path. And we've almost tripled residential cardboard with this program than what we received pre-program. So we're still very pleased with where this goes. We hope it keeps growing. But other than that, I don't have anything else of special note to call out in the report unless there are questions.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
With the cardboard program, is there still capacity for people to get the actual rosy rollers or the brown bins?
Yes, there are. We still have some. We've pretty much got rid of or distributed most of what we got through the grant, but in our normal budget, we have purchase of containers like replacement or just as new people sign on. So we do have that and we can grow that. We have not exceeded what we can do with the one truck we have set aside for that and with the every other week schedule. We're getting close. Particularly, we have really high participation on the Tuesday route and the Friday route. There's a lot of cans, so we're getting to the point where we might have to, what we'd probably do is just break that, because it's set out, not to get too far in the weeds, but your recycling, whether it be cardboard or your Ritchie, matches up to the same day that your trash is collected.
Right.
So the problem is we could shift that recycle to a different day, but that means people would have to put the container out 2 different days, which is sort of an obstacle. The other thing is get another truck, but what I think we can do and what we've done with the waste audit is once that data comes back, I really think with collecting at half the time, I think we could, instead of doing every other week, maybe look at every 3rd week on both the Ritchies and the cardboard. There's still some data to look at, but that would help alleviate the size of the route on that, because it wouldn't have to be everybody on Monday is the same every 3rd week, right? We could split those up on
Right.
cardboard, so we could kind of come up with something, I think, and even the same with the Ritchie. I think is what we'll find, so that we can get more landfill diversion overall, but without having to grow capital or personnel. I think we can do it with just efficiency things, is the goal. So we're still waiting on that data. The audit has been done. They're generating the report to us, and once we get that, we will share that with the board here as well. So.
Would the audit know by neighborhood as well? Like which
Yes, so we
neighborhood
actually segregated it out per route.
per route?
Yes, so every route is done separately, and as everything's itemized and calculated in tons, it will show it per route even, and we did it as total. What we did was took trash, so we're seeing what's still in trash, so it will give us a really good indication of per neighborhood, per route, and so we may even, obviously there's adjusting of routes that could happen and all that, which we know is a huge undertaking. We did submit for that grant. I briefly mentioned maybe at the last one or the one before that was going out, but it was for marketing and rebranding. But part of that will be whatever we change. We know there are significant things, behavioral things that change, like if you go to every 3rd week, or if you're breaking routes up based on data, like that'll be a lot of
Yeah.
public information distribute. So that would go towards the efforts to change that. So.
Okay. Awesome.
Yes. It's exciting to see the number of people participating, but also, I think you're right. I think the results of the audit are going to be very interesting to see what the patterns are and how much capacity there is and how much more we could pull out of the landfill if we could get more participation.
I do think so. I think that one of the big things is I don't think we're in a size to continue to hand sort, commingle, and we're not big enough to put in automation. But if we go to not sorting it and having somebody else use the big auto sort facilities, we're not held to just 1s and 2s and things like that. Anything that they can recycle at these large facilities, we can now collect. So there's whole markets of material that we don't have the size of bins, not bins at the curb, but bins in our actual recycling facility where we sort. We don't have the storage in our building even to take in more material. So it would allow us to get different kinds of material. And so I'm really interested to see that, like from the report, what is recyclable at these big facilities and that's out there and how many tons that is. I mean, I think it'll be very interesting to see what we can divert, what percentage.
Thank you very much. There wasn't anything on the financial side that,
Nothing we haven't talked about. I mean, the revenue side is still tracking about almost 2% above in the landfill and the sewer, which is a good thing. We had to move fuel, but we did it with existing things that we weren't buying this year or things that were less expensive than we thought they might be. So we were able to not have to appropriate more funds, but just move funds around for fuel. But I think we're going to balance out with no need for additional anything. So a lot of effort to do that, but it worked, I think, so.
any other questions? Thank you. The next item of business is approval of the 2024 holiday schedule.
Yes, Madam President and Board. As you're well aware, every year the city generates a holiday schedule based on the holidays that are agreed within the city policy and/or AFSCME's contract, which those all match at this moment. And then the city chooses, the observed date for those holidays. So some of the big holidays, if they fall Saturday, Sunday, will be Friday, Monday, of that nature. But this just lays that out yearly as they do, and it's before you for approval.
Any questions or comments on that? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion.
President Miller?
Yes, Mr. Bakshi?
Motion approval of 2024 holiday schedule as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the 2024 holiday schedule as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. The next item of business is the recommendation to approve wastewater discharge permit number W2-13-1227 for Richmond Beverage Solutions.
President Miller,
Yes, Mr. Steens.
make a motion to approve wastewater discharge permit, excuse me, W2-13-1227 for Richmond Beverage Solutions LLC, 1590 Northwest 11th Street, Richmond, Indiana, 47374. Permit will become effective December 12th of 2023 and expire on December 12th of 2027.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve wastewater discharge permit W2-13-1227 to Richmond Beverage Solutions LLC, 1590 Northwest 11th Street, Richmond, Indiana, 47374, effective December 12th of 2023 and expiring on December 12th, 2027. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. That takes us to miscellaneous, and I understand we have two items of business under miscellaneous. The first being rental agreement with McAllister.
Yes, Madam President and Board. The landfill operates two bulldozers. Usually one works the face of the trash and the other is out getting the daily cover, the dirt that is regulatory required to be placed 6 inches over top of at the end of every day. One of those bulldozers is currently down and has been down for a short while, but as we normally are doing that, we stockpile dirt and we've tried to utilize that. In an update last week, though, it looks like the part could still be 3 weeks out. And we know we're getting close to the end of that stockpile, so we wanted to rent a bulldozer to be able to serve as that generating cover. We looked into using overtime and just using the bulldozer we have after hours to work the dirt and then do the cover. But the bulldozer that we're still utilizing is actually, if you remember earlier this year, we approved a purchase of a new bulldozer. That replaces this old one that's the one that actually is operating right now. But that new bulldozer to replace this one comes in early January, and we were just afraid that this older one might not do that long of time per day. And again, we just thought it would be prudent to have something in place to make sure we meet those regulatory requirements. We reached out and got 2 quotes for Caterpillar bulldozer, which is what our crew has been using. So that way we didn't have to worry about training on any type of new equipment. We chose the lowest quote. You'll see that as Exhibit A in the document I sent this morning, but there was a weekly rate, a daily rate, and a weekly rate, and a monthly rate. Since it could be up to 3 weeks for this part, the daily and weekly were actually more expensive than doing the monthly if it went to 3 weeks. So we chose that monthly, which is a $9,000 rental, and then there's a freight charge of $900 each direction, so $1,800 in freight, bringing this total to $10,800. As with any time we rent heavy equipment's not allowed to be on the trash itself. It can only be used for the dirt section too, so that's one thing to note of how we were looking at what we had to do. So it is our recommendation then to put in this for this rental equipment. There were funds that we have in place in the budget for things like this that come up, having to rent equipment or backup equipment or parts. So again, there was a budgeted item that well covers this $10,800. So.
Any questions or comments?
I just see, there's like no contract number on this. Shouldn't there be a contract number?
AJ drafted that for me yesterday on a quick notice for this.
So you guys will take
Yeah.
care of getting a contract number or something?
Yes, and all the other pieces, so.
Make a motion?
President Miller,
Okay.
motion to enter into agreement for a rental of a bulldozer as presented.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the agreement for the rental of a bulldozer as presented. Any further questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you. And the next item of business you had was
Yes, the legal contract for legal services. We, as you know, for the last several years, we have partnered with, I think the name's changed a few times, but BBFCS, but with AJ Sickman. He has drafted a contract that would go in place for next year for all of 2024. It is essentially the same as always. We did talk about cost. There is a 2% increase in cost, which is also what the district had budgeted for 2024. So this still falls within budgetary amounts. But if there are any other questions, I can answer those. And I think AJ may be on the remotely in on this too, so he could answer any calls that or any questions that may come up.
do we need your official name? Is it BSCS? Is that the official name now?
Yeah, and the contract is Boston Beaver Forest Cross and Sickman officially.
BFCS.
Yes.
I am on remotely if there are any questions.
I didn't hear what he said. What'd you say,
I
AJ?
am on remotely. I am on remotely. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Okay, now I get you.
Yeah, so I would echo what Pat said. There are only a few minor changes. The hourly rate for anything outside the scope of the retainer services did increase to $250 per hour. That's still $100 less per hour than my private hourly rate, but that is the rate that is going up across all political subdivisions and schools I represent. And then bond rates would be at $350 per hour. And then again, the retainer amount goes up by 2%. And I just learned that apparently my services are far cheaper than renting a bulldozer. So hopefully it's still a pretty decent price for legal services for 2024. So happy to stay involved if that would be the board's pleasure to approve the contract.
Not sure on the name, so Boston Beaver.
BBFCS.
Yeah,
FCS, Boston Beaver Forest Cross. Okay.
and Sigmund.
Okay.
Is this just for 1 year or is this for multi-years?
It would just be for 2024.
Does anyone have any other questions or comments, or I will entertain a motion?
President Miller?
Yes, Mr. Steens?
I will make a motion that the Richmond Sanitary District enter into a contract for legal services with BBFCS. AJ Sickman will be our attorney at the terms described prior to this discussion.
I second.
There's been a motion and a second to enter into an agreement for legal services for the district at the terms presented. So you
Presented,
said?
yeah.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Hearing none, all in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, AJ, for all of your help this past year and for agreeing to work again with us next year.
My pleasure. Thank you.
Any other business to be brought before the board today? Hearing none, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to adjourn. All in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. We are adjourned, and I will turn it over to President Steens for the Stormwater Board.
Thank you. I'd like to call to order the December 12th, 2023 Stormwater Management Board meeting. First on the agenda is the approval of minutes from November 28th of 2023.
President Steens, I'd like to propose a motion for approval of minutes from November 28th, 2023, as presented.
And I will second the motion.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes from the November 28th, 2023 meeting as presented. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next on the agenda is the approval of invoices for check date run November 24th, December 1st and 8th of 2023.
President Steens, I'd like to make a motion to approve invoices from check dates November 24th, December 1st, and 8th of 2023 totaling $49,065.43. There were two significant invoices, the first to Commonwealth Engineers for $10,153.10, and the second to Cooley Contracting LLC for $10,518.72.
I second.
We have a motion and a second to approve invoices for check date run November 24th, December 1st, and 8th of 2023 totaling $49,065.43. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Next is miscellaneous, and I guess my question would be, will stormwater be participating in the fees for BBFCS?
That is a great question. I don't remember the split off the top of my head. I can probably pull that up, though, through my phone. I can get it to you here
Okay.
in a moment.
Yeah, and I could not tell you about fee division or allocation, but I know the contract historically has always just been with the Richmond Sanitary District.
So only we sign as the sanitary district, but we can still behind this. I think we usually do that, don't we? Split the cost?
I
Without-
don't remember.
It's split in a few funds. I just can't remember if stormwater is
Yeah, I
one
just
of
didn't
them.
know if we needed to officially approve it or not.
I guess we can approve it without saying the percent, or as an as needed or something.
Here, I'm at 6501.
And just for purposes of
it's-
our
It's
record
not.
today,
It's not in 6501.
Okay.
and I don't differentiate between scope of services between those two boards. I view that as all encompassing. So if something comes up on that side, it's going to come within the scope of the contract, at least the way I interpret it.
Okay. All right, Thank
And
you.
looking at the funds, we only pay it 50/50 out of 6501, or 6601 and 6201.
Okay. Okay. Thank you. Anyone have anything else? I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
I so move.
Second.
We are adjourned. Everyone have a nice holiday.
Yeah.